Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a special guest and a pretty special deck. This is what I would call Fiend Maverick Elves, and we are joined by co-host and Sylvan Syndicate founder, HelloNewton. Hey Newton, welcome
Thank you,
to the
dude. I
stream.
appreciate and am honored to be on here. I know we have discussed this, via Twitch chat, a few times in the past, but I'm glad to join the other founding father, or one of the founding fathers of the Sylvan Syndicate, and I think we're gonna have a blast talking, deck construction and just Green Sun fans everywhere, right? Like, it's gonna enjoy this, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's always nice to move between Green Sun's decks. Obviously, it's a little bit easier to move from things like Maverick to Depths, but Elves has always been one of those kind of. I think when people think of Legacy, they don't always think of Elves as like a top contender, but it's probably been up there for a long time now.
Yeah, I think probably the big shift was in the actually since we're on the topic was this summer when we went from the traditional glimpse of nature build to Fiend Artisan because that was a big discovery, and then I think we had been in the top rankings for like essentially on top MTG Go Fish for a while. Obviously, the combo build is also quite popular at the moment because of Reed Duke's popularizing it at the last few weeks. He I think went 8-2 at Eternal Weekend, and then finished second in the challenge with it. So I think all builds, enjoying a lot of play at the moment.
Yeah. Speaking of Fiend Artisan, where did it kind of come from?
So the backstory on that card was, it's a card that I kind of thought was interesting when it got spoiled, but unfortunately, it got spoiled the same set as Companions.
Yes.
And at the time, so of course, I wanted to focus on Luris more than anything else, and it's been a card where I've like kind of had on the back burner, but never really tried because I just think, oh, I'm not sure if it's the best. I always had something else to try at the moment. And then when I qualified for the showcase qualifier in August, I wanted a haymaker to beat the Delver matchup. And I think for anybody who knows, the Delver matchup at the time for Elves was probably not great. Like it was okay, especially if you have Reclaimer, but Glimpse of Nature tended to be a little bit of a liability because you never had the mana against a more experienced Delver pilot. So I wanted like a Tarmogoyf type of effect or Scavenging Ooze, but Scavenging Ooze had been power crept out of the format in my opinion because you just have to be so efficient with mana now, and just I didn't want to spend mana. So Fiend Artisan kind of like felt like that Tarmogoyf big body that I was looking for. And then while I didn't do great in the that showcase qualifier because of the matchups I kind of ran into, immediately after, a few people picked up the exact list that I played, which was the one Artisan, and said, "Oh, this list is kind of broken, and Artisan's kind of broken. Like it was really good." And I think 2 days afterwards, like 5 people messaged me, "Dude, Fiend Artisan is broken," and we had an emergency stream with you know fellow Elf player Curran Testacular, and we played 3 copies just to see, oh, are we just missing something here? And immediately after during the stream, I realized 3 copies is not enough. This card is maybe the second best creature in the deck behind Reclaimer, and we in the 1 month afterwards, people were joking with me. Oh, stock elves is now only stock for 1 day. Like the amount of changes we had that first month was just unforeseen, right? Like we're talking about 15 cards from the deck changed from the original Glimpse Reclaimer build to where it kind of like settled down. You're talking about like, yeah, 15 cards changed because Artisan meant that Mana Dorks were better than like Birchlore and Heritage Druid, and then we eventually just cut the Glimpse because I didn't feel like we needed them, and then played more lands because it's okay to flood if that makes sense, right? Because Fiend Artisan could just get you in most cases like a Grist, right?
Yeah, that's very true. It's a yeah, it's a really interesting card because it kind of flew under the radar for Maverick as well. There was a time where I thought it was just like Pod, where you could only get a creature that was one CMC higher than the one you sacrificed. But obviously, rereading it, you can get any creature you want based on X.
Right.
We can see in this build we have things like Collector Oof and Endurance, which are one ofs through Green Sun Zenith, which can be found. But you can also find, of course, non-green creatures, which is quite nice, and Plague Engineer. And Opposition Agent is another card that we've seen in this sort of list before. Are there any other bears that you've tested out that didn't quite make it?
That I tested out. Yeah, I think Agent right now I had to unfortunately cut because I think the format is just too fast for it. Like it's typically good against the green decks and it's okay against combo if you can buy time, right? But I think a lot of the combo decks right now are pushed out because of initiative. Like they're pretty much only like turn one combo at the moment because initiative, Chalice of the Void being an issue, or some of the Storm decks, for instance, right? Um, so I had to cut Opposition Agent. Some of the other cards that I have thought about but haven't actually tried is like some of the white cards, for instance, Spear of the Labyrinth, because our deck doesn't actually draw that many cards anymore. Well, it doesn't need to, I should say. Um, Thalia, I think Gaddock Teeg is interesting too because you can actually sack it to the Artisan, right?
Yeah, that's very true. Especially if you want to use something like a Green Suns or Natural Order.
Right, exactly. And then I know Matt, Punishing Waterfalls, has had some success with Magus of the Moon, for instance.
Nice. I would not expect that.
It's kind of a nice 3 mana win against some of these greedy mana bases or against some of these lands based strategies. So while I haven't felt like I needed it or felt like the need to go into another color, because to do so, you either take the risk you don't have the red source or you play the Birds of Paradise. Your stream is all black, by the way, Dukes. I don't know if that's intentional on
Oh,
Twitch.
is it? Oh, interesting. That is really weird.
Okay. One second. So the doorbell. I
No, easy.
apologize. Uh, one second.
Huh. Nice. Okay. Good to hear that it's not black in for others. A huge thank you for us for joining us. Do you need to run black? That's a good question. I think black is typically there. Once Newton's back, we can talk about it. But obviously, Snuff Out is a fantastic removal spell. Plague Engineer is just a nice way to deal with Go Wide. Thoughties' turn on interaction is quite good as well. No, that's more than fine. We just had a question in chat about do you actually need to run black in this?
In this shell, you mean?
Yeah.
I think so because one of my philosophies is, especially if you're playing a deck, kind of long term, is you kind of have to be combo because I don't think you can punt like one third of the meta game, so to speak. So I think the it's too difficult to run Force of Will in this kind of deck. That like it probably you can't build in such a way to run it. And I don't think we can run Chalice of the Void. So I think black is the next best color. Which is why I think you kind of need black Thoughtseize. Also, we're already kind of pushed incentivized to be in black because of Grist and Bog, because of the mana fixing too, right? And I think Snuff Out is also very good at the moment. So I think black is kind of the best splash color.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting that you pointed out that you've obviously changed a lot of cards in Elves over recent times. I think he's at about 15. And I think that's happening a lot. Like we saw DN Solver take down both challenges on the weekend with Naya Depths with a list that doesn't run Ramanap, which is a card you just kind of automatically assume is going to be in a Depth style deck. So to see that sort of change is really cool. And then to see someone back it up with results as well is even better. And that's exactly what, the Elves crew and you have done with Fiend Artisan Elves is show that there's obviously more than one way to win with what is becoming less of an actual elf deck, but there's still a fair amount of elves in here.
I found the so you brought up a good point, right? You have less of the old school like elf synergies like Heritage Druid, Wirewood Symbiote, obviously only a two of now, only two Visionary, right? I think that is the bare minimum at the moment, or the bare maximum. Maybe that's the best way I can put. Because you still have a way to grind in case your grist gets answered. And one of the deck building restrictions of Fiend Artisan, in my opinion, is you need a lot of low CMC creatures. So like ideally a lot of one drops and maybe a few two drops, right? That you don't care about, pitching. I think the reason why this shell kind of works for Artisan is because of the high one drop density and the guy's cradle to power out something like a grist pretty quickly, right? I think that's kind of the way you build a Fiend Artisan deck, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a great observation. With the mana dorks, is there a reason to break them up between just having, say, 4 Llanowar elves?
Yes. So the main reason I would say is static is a caster,
Nice.
and then it's possible somebody can run what is it called? Like a Phyrexian Revoker or Cabal Therapy effect. The other reason that's more relevant at the moment with Initiative is Anointed Peacekeeper would be the reason.
Ah, nice. Yeah, that's very, very cool. Nice, great answer.
So I think it's actually more relevant now than it has been in the past because of Initiative.
100%. The other card that we see of as a one of in the mana base is Urza's Saga. Tell me about this.
So Urza Saga is a card that I mentioned this to you a little bit before prior to the stream, Dukes. It's a card I tried actually before and thought it was a little bit clunky. Although I really liked the Pithing Needle to pair with it before, so that was like something I kept in mind. If ever the metagame changed or if we had changes structurally in the deck, then maybe we can consider it again. And this was when I played Glimpse of Nature before, and then just a couple of days ago, I was like, so the mana count, sorry, not the mana, the land count is also higher than probably most legacy decks outside of these land-based strategies, right? Like 23 lands is a lot, and the way this deck is built now is like just worry about making mana, and then the win condition will solve itself. So one thing that I did notice is Reclaimer, I would ideally like to be a win condition as well. And we played things like Lair the Hydra in the past, but I think with the trimming down of Elvish Vision and Wirewood Symbiote, I wanted a way to grind out games against control. And it conveniently fetches Needle against some of these combo decks. So I wanted to try it again, and I think I like it a lot better now than I did before because before you would have like Heritage Druid and Burstful Ranger and Glimpse of Nature, none of which can get cast off Urza Saga. Now you can actually use the colorless mana for Fiend Artisan activation, which is a pretty big deal in my opinion, right? Like,
Yeah.
and also just making a few constructs. And the reason why I don't have any tutor targets main is because I don't actually think we need them. Like it's just there as a 23rd colorless land in case we need another land to pitch to Reclaimer or just to hit land drops, right? I cannot value enough, can say enough about like just hitting land drops with this deck. It's almost like a control deck in that sense, right? Like you just want to hit your land drops and then things will go smoothly after that. And then Urza Saga is kind of nice because it is kind of like a 4-for-1 against some of these control decks, right? Like you make two constructs, and then with a third chapter on the stack, you can pitch it, but then it also fetches your Soul Guide Lantern to draw another card. So it's just a lot of value for one slot, if that makes sense. And Needle is like borderline playable already, so I don't think the deck building restriction is too high, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great point. I when it first came out, I wasn't that high on it. I didn't really understand how good it would be, and then seeing Urza Saga in practice, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. But I think it's actually like on legacy power level. I wouldn't say it's too busted.
No, because it's a little bit slow, if that makes sense, right? Like obviously you can kill people turn one still, right? And Saga doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's very true. Speaking of artifacts, we can see some Hushbringers in the sideboard. One big talking point within the Maverick community has been Hushbringer versus Torpor Orb. The big advantage of Orb being that it's not open to Sword Splashes, but Hushbringer being a bit easy to find in a version, especially with things like Once Upon a Time. Did you think about Torpor Orb at all, or do you really like having kind of creature answers?
I think I thought about Torpor Orb because ideally we would the ideal colors for us would be just green and black, right? And you don't have to play the Savannah. The reason why I actually like Hushbringer is there's a few. As you mentioned, there's Once Upon a Time, right? Also, number one, this is a Cradle deck, so anything that's a creature is immediately going to be more valuable because of Gaia's Cradle. And then similarly, because it's a creature, well, let me, because it's a creature and has flying, it can steal the initiative, which if you're on the draw is pretty important, I think, because uh, you get the Hushbringer and you shut off whatever other cards are in their deck, and then you can actually steal the initiative. And I find, granted, the sample size is low, but in theory, I think I like that a lot better than Torpor Orb because again, it can attack, and the life link. I know it's only one life, but then 4 snuff outs is going to add up eventually. So
Yeah,
could
it
be a
adds
slight
up.
small hedge to that too.
Nice. That's cool. Last question about the deck was the one copy of Leyline of the Void.
So this is a card that is very controversial, even in 4 copies, regardless of the one. The long story short is, ideally, I want to play another copy. I just don't have the room, and based on the mapping that I like, something I really value a lot is, and I kind of mentioned this to some of my Patreon followers, is not being able to be exploited by other decks. So what I mean by that is like, for instance, I think even after, I think initiative is kind of a blessing in disguise from a metagame perspective for us because it forced us to evolve our deck quicker than I probably would have. So for instance, the weekend the initiative came out, Elves finished second and first respectively in the challenges. So I think when you win, you don't really innovate, right? Or it's easy to not to. And I think since the metagame has changed now in that 1 month since that's happened, it's forced me to figure out, okay, what is the next best list I can play now? And I believe even if, for instance, White Plume Adventure gets banned or something, or Ancient Tomb gets banned, right? I believe Snuff Out going forward should be in the main because I've seen people keep some of these crazy hands that they otherwise wouldn't because they know, oh, it's an elf player. They can't deal with Murktide Regent or they can't deal with my infect creature, right? So they keep these all in hands and I can't punish them. And I think Snuff Out is good because it means you can't be exploited as easily because they can't assume you don't have removal now, right? Like you can say, oh no, I have 3 main, maybe even 4, right? Depending on you know, if we want to play Snuff Out the 4th copy main or not. So Leyline of the Void is a card that I kind of want to play as well in some number because I don't want some of these graveyard decks to think, oh, they don't have Leyline of the Void. I don't need a board in Disenchant, right? So you get these. If you play 1 copy, that's a 10% equity already of just winning the game on the spot. If they just assume you don't have it. If you have 2, it's about 20%, right? So I think in smaller numbers, it's kind of good because it messes up their sideboarding too, right? It's like if you respect it, then they board in dead cards. If they don't respect it, then they have a 20% chance of losing on the spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which is pretty high. I
Which is
think,
pretty high for a free win, right?
yeah, exactly. um, and yeah, I guess leads into the next part and the last question, and that's kind of I win buttons. And I've had this article drafted for months on the Zenith, and it's all about how green decks, I think, especially in 2023, have to move towards having kind of an I win button of things like Natural Order or Marit Lage, and that's where Nidapps and Elves have done really well this year. And it's kind of where Maverick's been left behind because when you think of I win buttons in Maverick, you might think of like, turn 2 collect oof against 8 cast or maybe like a storm deck, but it's definitely not as powerful as it used to be. And I think like just over the years, although threats have gotten pretty good, removal has also gotten very good with cards like Prismatic Ending. So being able to rely on what I call like a stop sign in a creature has become more of just a speed bump where most decks have answers to things like Collect Oof or Gaddock Teeg that you really need a way to be able to say, is your guard down? Okay, cool. Well, I can win from here by, Shepherd or Natural Order or go for the 2020.
That's a great question. So I'm glad you asked me this because this is something I've thought about with regards to Maverick too. Because Uh, the Maverick community as a whole, I would say, has been very nice to me in terms of like every time they either you Dukes or like other members of the Maverick community have stopped by on stream. I know Straz Daddy was here on Twitch chat earlier. So I will sometimes, frequent the Maverick Discord, and then I know there's been some discussion about how to build a deck and like some what previously some cards I know are considered sacred cows, so to speak, right? I think. Hey Max, how's it going? Uh, my personal opinion is I think from a structural standpoint, Maverick, especially with the change to Fiend Artisan, right? I think Maverick does probably need the I win, right? Especially because Maverick, similar to some of these other green decks, doesn't have Force of Will as well, right? Like we are a little bit susceptible to some of these combo decks, so I think we need a I win against the majority of the field otherwise. And from a structural standpoint, I think that is probably natural order, but I think Merit Lage is reasonable as well and like kind of fits within the shell. The reason why I say natural order is kind of a nice uh what is it called, kind of fits in structurally, is because you want to play creatures already. Many of them are green, and then if you're already playing a lot of one drops, I think Fiend Artisan becomes kind of makes a lot of sense too. And I think there is I think there's some nostalgia in terms of like how Maverick is built, especially with like Thalia before as being the preeminent 2-drop, and then Night of the Reliquary being the preeminent 3-drop. I
Hmm.
think, to be honest, my personal opinion, I think Fiend Artisan does a lot of what you want Knight to do, except the issue I've seen with Knight of the Reliquary is like if you untap, you don't necessarily win, is what I've found.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with Fiend Artisan, you generally do, and it's 1 mana lower. So I think it's possible Fiend Artisan can do for Maverick what it's done for Elves, right? Like, and then you can replace maybe or go down in numbers of Knight of the Reliquary because um, without a way to just kind of like end the game, I think you give a chance to the other deck to get back over a few turns. And like I've stared down at Knight of Reliquary a few times, and they've like wastelanded me into like oblivion, and then I suddenly get back into the game because I drew the snuff out or whatever, and then like slowly got back because they weren't able to close the door, for instance. And I think that's pretty important. And whether that's natural or whether that's Merit Lage, I think we'd have to test. But if it is natural order or just Fiend Artisan in general, because I think you can build Maverick so that it's just all mana denial too, and still play Wasteland and Thalia and the traditional lock pieces. I just think what I've realized is if to make Artisan work, you kind of need Kratos. So the mana base would have to be reworked a little bit with 2 to 3 Kratos instead of just the one, right? And then you can still play the full set of I believe you can still play the full set of Wasteland, because I do think as its core, not only it's going to make traditional Maverick players happy, I do think Wasteland Thalia can still coexist alongside Artisan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I can definitely align a lot of my thoughts with yours, which is great. Um, I think that obviously people moving towards Cradle, you see a lot of Maverick players these days want to play without Cradle, obviously due to its price. So I think telling them that they might have to purchase another one is tough. But I think for MTGO, like it's a perfect place to test out those sort of builds. And I think honestly with Maverick right now, there's not too much to lose by testing out new things and seeing how it goes. Like I know Saito San just got his first trophy with a build that he's working on where it's all 2-power creatures and then he plays 4 main deck Dustdawn. And yeah, just you get to see some creatures that you don't typically see in traditional Maverick decks. But yeah, I think there's a lot of synergy between Natural Order and Maverick, and just being able to, even just make use of cards that are irrelevant. So if we're up against, an Elves deck and we have Collector Oof, Natural Order at least turns that into something relevant, which I think is pretty key as well. And just being able to make sure that, your cards count and that your spells have a role in most matchups, and cards like Natural Order allow that.
The other thing I've found too is the Fiend Artisan not having the restriction of green is like pretty relevant too. So you can play like Plague Engineer, which is like good because I think the combo build of elves is like quite popular at the moment, or like Cephalid Breakfast is also good there. But Opposition Agent being a green mirror breaker is pretty big, I think. Um, and I think if I were building Maverick, I'd probably start with three Cradles and three to four Wasteland. And I think you can still make the mana base work. Although you get to play less of the fun stuff, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. All right, let's get into a league and see how this goes. I'm
All right, sounds
pretty
good.
pretty keen to get my elf debut online.
No, I'm glad you asked me to come on and play this list, and then even in the future, if you are interested, yeah, we can try to build Fiend Artisan Maverick, so to speak, that is not elf centric, so to speak, with the mana denial plan.
Yeah, that'd be great. I do like the list you sent through previously. There was kind of just a bunch of playsets with a few little tutor effects. And yeah, it just speaks to, I think the one thing that Maverick does have typically is consistency, and that's always nice. So I think we can only add to that with Fiend Artisan. This looks like a great hand. We have mana acceleration, we have tutor ability in Fiend Artisan. Obviously, Shepherd's a win condition. Visionary being able to replace itself is nice. This is kind of a 6 in my eyes with the Dried Arbor being just like, sorcery speed, but I'm a
I think
big
the
fan
hand's
of
perfectly
this.
fine. Like,
Do you do one thing? Oh, okay. Well, Underground Sea most likely means some sort of combo deck.
yeah, in this economy, I think Underground Sea probably means combo for sure.
Nice. Do you have any thoughts on like fetching before once or once before fetching?
I think in this situation, we want to fetch before once because that takes out one additional land from the deck, so that we potentially have better odds off of Once Upon a Time. Um, the reason to do it the other way is in case you're land light, but I think we already have three lands, so.
Yeah, perfect. I assume in the blind against the Underground Sea deck, we're happy just to get Bayou.
The thing about Bayou is the only card it helps cast main deck is Plague Engineer or Opposition Agent before and Gris. Neither of which are good against combo for what it's worth. But I think it's probably safe to get Bayou, if you assume they're on Wasteland.
Yeah, because I would assume the only green blue black deck that would probably be a Wasteland deck is Death Shadow that
Correct, right.
could run an Underground Sea, but typically that have probably a turn one play. Huh. Reclaim is kind of nice here because it does give us a way to interact with the graveyard if this is a graveyard deck.
It also turns on our mana too, right? Like I think if you think the Reclaim right here,
Yeah, nice.
you leave with the door though. I think when in doubt, lead with the dork. I think if you know they are on graveyard combo, then there is merit for reclaimer. But generally speaking, it's correct to lead with dork.
Yeah, getting that mana online is really nice, and then we can start even two spelling as early as next turn.
Right, exactly.
Consider.
Looks like it's Doomsday.
Yeah. I know you've been pretty vocal recently about the Doomsday matchup and how you think it's actually gone in favor of elves.
I would say if both pilots are pretty even, or on the higher end of the percentile spectrum, it's probably pretty even, and depends on the sideboard. But I don't think it's as bad as some people think it is, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Would you lead on Visionary here to see if we can pop off Cradle?
I think since we know they're on Doomsday, there are certain cards we need to see. They are either Collector Oof or before Opposition Agent. I would probably lead with the Shepherd to force the Visionary through here,
Nice.
right? Because the game is not going to go on that long, and if we happen to draw into the Endurance or the Collector Oof, we want the Visionary resolved. You know what I mean?
Are you surprised that not more green decks have picked up Shepherd outside of Elves?
Uh, yes and no. I think it's a powerful card. I do think it's a little bit overrated though. Like it loses to any removal spell, and a lot of times it's kind of like a glorified Thoughtseize. So I think yes and no, if that makes sense.
You said Visionary here.
Actually, I think given that we know they're on combo, maybe I think it's actually better. I take back that. I think it's probably better to play the Fiend Artisan.
Nice. And then hopefully move
Yeah.
towards maybe even trading this dried upper away for a Collector Oof.
Exactly right. And then essentially you're trying to cut down the number of turns your opponent has left. And I think this puts them on a hopefully one turn ish clock. Like you get the collector oof, and then that does. The other thing I like about Fiend Artisan is you don't actually have to make up your mind, unlike Green Sun, right away. You can decide later, right? The turn after. So I've had situations where my opponent where like I wanted to get a collector oof, but then later on I changed my mind. Oh, I should get an opposition agent. So that's like one of the benefits of it.
Interesting. The only
So
reason
my
for the
get,
early... Sorry, you go first.
so I suspect our opponent probably thinks we're an opposition agent, and that's why they conceded,
Ah, okay.
right?
That's kind of
Because
cool
I
to get a
did,
little free win there.
yeah. So I like we actually cut opposition agent because it's not as good in this metagame, but like yeah, you can just get a free win like we just did right now because our opponent assumes we have it, right?
Yeah, interesting.
It's kind of like Green Sun too, where they have to assume you have it in the deck, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's very true. I've definitely had opponents concede to just like Green Suns for 2 on the stack.
And
Like,
you might not even have in the deck, right? The collector oof or whatever it is. So here I would board in the Hushbringer and then the Endurances, the Thought Seizes,
nice.
and then you can take some of the main deck removal out in the Snuff Outs, the Plague Engineer, the Gris, and the Bog.
Nice. Once is obviously nice because it gives you a little bit of play to like a turn 1 win with Finding Endurance.
Right. I never. That's a card I never board out, by the way.
Okay.
And then here, I think we should can trim the Visionary and the Waterwood like package because it's a little bit slow.
Yeah, nice. That's just a nice little 10 for 10. I love it.
Yeah, it's almost as if we did this on purpose, right?
Hmm. This is not the worst hand. It has 2 pieces of interaction on turn 1 and 2. The hoof is obviously not castable at the moment, but it's a pretty
It probably
powerful
won't
hand.
be. I would definitely keep it.
Yeah. Because
So
I think if we are mulliganing, it's probably towards something like this.
right.
Nice. But yeah, like I think mana again is just so good to have, and to know that we can cast pretty much anything we draw into is really nice.
Hmm.
Have you ever wanted a scrubland in the mana base?
No, I think so. My experience is anything that doesn't produce green is really bad, and it
Yeah.
has to be like game winning to be worth it. So, for instance, Bog, I think Saga is at the last land, so to speak, instead of Wasteland.
I think here, although we can Green Suns for Dried Arbor, it's a case of like, let's try to not lose next turn, so we should Thoughtseize this turn.
Right, I would make the same play.
And then the fetches are actually quite good because down the line they could just be Dried Arbors, which obviously improve the Cradle. So I think just using the Bayou here is fine.
Yes. So that's like so one of the things about this list is you do have to plan ahead and you get rewarded for it, which is nice.
Yeah, it's like Maverick. I feel like a lot of the setup, especially with Green Suns being sorcery speed, is like, how do I not lose next turn to make sure that we can survive another turn, and then apply more pressure, and then save that like next turn and just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess we shouldn't six just in case our opponent just, says, oh, okay, they don't have endurance.
Right. Yeah, I typically will not F6 at all. There are some situations where I will, like if they're like Moon Stompy, for instance, but like outside of something like that. I don't think so either, Straz Daddy. I'm pretty happy. This is working out the way I thought. So actually, I had a discussion with Inigo earlier today, and we were discussing those slots because the Hushbringer was previously Deathmark, but Deathmark, the problem with that is it's only good against initiative, and it's only good against the green decks, which are not like necessarily bad matchups. They're like okay, right? And I think Hushbringer is better because it helps against the Oracle decks.
Destroy target green or white creature? Newton, how could you do this?
I know it's blasphemous. I know. So the reason why I like that card against initiative is because you don't need to trigger revolt like Fatal Push, and I think this member is okay, but the life loss is like a lot already, right?
Oh, we're getting a turn. I do see 1 days, 2 days, and then 1 force, 2 force, and a force has been pitched already.
I think they're gonna go for the win next turn, so I think we have no choice but to play the Hushbringer.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because I don't see the what is it called? Oh, actually, can you check if they have a basic force there?
Basic island
Sorry, basic island is what I meant to say. Yeah,
here.
Freudian slip.
That's definitely a consideration as well of trying to take them off the mana for. And
Right.
does it
So we
also
can probably
shuffle?
check.
Oh, May Search. Okay.
Yeah, so we can actually check if they have underground sea too, right? I think there's one there, and
Yes. One underground sea. One pedal.
so
One pedal.
no, there's
One
two underground
pedal.
seas there.
Looks like they
I
also have
think
a pedal.
yeah, they may have a pedal in hand. They have 2 days there, right?
Correct.
I would assume days is. I mean, the Hushbringer is safe, but it's like 50-50, right? I don't know if they have.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we play the Hushbringer and
Yeah. I think Hush as well. Oh, wow. Okay. That just worked.
yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, there we go. So I think that might just be a free win now.
Four cards left.
Also, shout out to Chase here for being in the chat.
Hey, Styfer. Here we just Green Suns for Collector Oof.
I think so. Okay, so yeah, well, yeah, I think we play the Reclaimer and then we can play the Cradle and then Green Sun for a collector.
Nice.
We probably attack first, to be honest.
Yeah.
see what they do. I go for Boseiju now. That is like reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, could also, I guess, like Boseiju is kind of like Oof by taking them off the pedal, but we obviously are playing to the board, and we know that they have the C there.
Given that we have the resident Doomsday expert here, I think we'll play the Reclaim, we'll play the Cradle, and then try to Stone Rain them, right?
Oh. No.
And probably do it on upkeep.
3. Nice. Like, draw step?
Or
I think it's much for muchness. Okay. Well, didn't have to. Nice. Look, always nice to take down Doomsday. Big fan.
I know. So it's funny because we mentioned that, right? It's like, oh, you asked me before. Oh, the Doomsday matchup is pretty good, right? I said I think it's like probably anywhere in the. I think it's above 50% personally, but I don't think it's like above 60. Assuming both pilots are about the same skill level. Actually, I think if both pilots are less experienced, it favors the Doomsday player because they're the proactive deck, right? You're the control.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense. Doomsday. What sort of cards do you not like seeing out of Doomsday? Do they typically go for like a relic line to take you off endurance?
I think if it's early enough, they will go for the cycle line. I think the relic line is like right. So relic is good, and then also Max's list I think is better against my list for instance because I hate seeing an opposition agent on the other side. Right? If they go turn one opposition agent, you probably are not winning that game. Like realistically speaking.
Yeah, I guess because you can't snuff out it either.
Right, you can't even snuff out it either. Like, and then like sometimes I've gotten people like in the past where like especially before endurance was a thing, like I board in removal and they just like don't plan for it. Or like before Boseiju, right? I would board in Assassin's Trophy as a Stone Rain because Max. So Dukes, I don't know if you know this or not, but Dukes and I actually go to the same
Max and
LGS,
you.
right? Obviously not today because I'm streaming here with you. Our normal LGS day is today, but so we talk a lot.
Nice, that's cool. Actually, I had Max on yesterday, and he said that you guys are both local players, which is very cool to hear.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry I missed it yesterday as I had some other stuff to take care of, but I definitely wanted to check that out. And I saw that you guys started 3-0 into 3-2, but at least beat the decks you guys were targeting, which is sweet.
Yeah, which is nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed the deck, and beating up on Delver is always a nice time. So that's always pretty sweet.
Speaking of Delver, oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
So speaking of Delver, I actually think one of the reasons to play this deck right now is how good the Delver matchup has become. I don't know if the Delver matchup has been this good for a Cradle deck since maybe Lurrus was a thing, and maybe even better than the Lurrus Elves, right, at the time.
I would say this is a mull. Doesn't really have much of a game plan. You can kind of go like maybe an early Dried Arbor start into Natural Order, but that probably isn't good enough.
This is almost like a mull to 4 already because the oof is like very situational, and we have 2 lands too many.
Nice. Oh, okay. Nice. A little bit awkward having the bog here. I probably with this hand would want to drop the Cradle. But it's nice that the Reclaimer can find Bayou to turn on the Snuff Out.
I think with this hand, yeah, I think having the second Cradle is a little bit awkward. I would also bottom. It's close between that and the bog.
How do you find the Elves versus Painter matchup?
I think so. I was just on Inigo stream earlier, and then we were just talking about it earlier today. I think it is actually right now very difficult for Elves, and one of the worser matchups because of
The reason why I find it hard to beat at the moment is because if they curve Fable into Fury, I don't think you can win a fair game, and that's the problem.
Hmm.
Like you have to combo them, and then but the problem is comboing them walks into a Fury, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Fury is pretty insane. Okay. Oh, they missed a
Especially if
land
hard
drop?
casted, right? Which is the problem.
Probably a huge win. Here we're pretty happy probably just to play Windswept Heath for Dryad Arbor end step and then play Reclaimer.
Uh, I actually think for me, like a general heuristic for elves is just trying to maximize your mana. Uh, I think here I would probably just slam the Fiend
Artisan?
Artisan.
Okay.
Yeah, off the Bayou. Because
Nice.
in general, because this is like a exponential growth deck, you don't really want to waste mana early. And it's why I've never liked blue spells in elves, because you can't afford to really hold up mana. Like like essentially an unused mana equates to like multiple unused mana later on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Pretty tough for our opponent. I guess they just top deck the land, but to miss their second land drop on a controlish deck is really nice for us.
Mm-hmm.
I guess here it's just going to be Reclaimer play Misty.
Yeah, I like that.
Also means if they
There's
have
really
like
no
a...
reason to bog it.
Yeah,
Say that
exactly.
again.
And if they have like a end step, or if they have like a Teferi, we have a way of killing it on the swing down as
Right.
well. But with Shark Typhoon, I wonder if this is a standstill build.
It might be.
No, set. That's not too bad either. A
So they
fetch off the
pitched the
top.
Shark Typhoon to the Force.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, all good. My bad. There we go. A fetch off the top would be nice, as it just gets rid of the Narset.
Yeah, it gets rid of it cleanly.
Hmm.
I think you just slam Green Sun for 3 right now.
Oh, for Grist?
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
And you tick up, and that actually might grow the Reclaimer too.
There we go.
Oh, actually, hold on.
We can
Don't
go like this.
right. That
Yeah.
way you have extra attacker, right?
Yes. Nice. Christmas Land? Ah, so close.
Close, yeah.
At least for this build, Narset isn't as much of a headache, seeing that we don't play the full playset of Visionary and we don't play Glimpse.
Right, exactly. I've I've actually seen people joke that Fiend Artisan might have been the best thing to happen to the Netto build, because I've seen control decks have to just cut Narset now, right? Because what is not even good against our build.
Um, okay. Once. I assume here, what do we have? I'm probably not attacking with the Elvish Reclaimer, just because we could potentially...
What's the reason not to attack with Reclaimer here?
Yeah, I guess because Bog's in hand, Saga isn't the greatest here. We're probably looking to just bash.
I think we need. I think we send. I think we probably played the Shepherd, and then send the 2/1/1s at Narset, and then send the Reclaimer at our opponent. Is what I
Nice.
would do. And then see if they react, right? And then we pump.
Um,
It,
could just pump in response to gain life, or we're not using the mana anyway.
We could hardcast Snuff out. That would be one reason not to do that.
Hmm. I guess if
I don't think
we're
the life matters.
yeah, I guess we would gain an extra life because we'd be gaining 5 but instead of paying 4.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable if you want to do that.
It's probably like, do you think they're playing Snapcaster Mage?
They could be, but I think we bog anyway just to make use of mana right now, right?
Yeah, nice.
Like I don't think we can play around the Snapcaster even if they had it. So I think we might as well just be mana efficient.
Yeah, exactly. I think that probably that is their only way of interacting with the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Okay. So this is obviously going to be like a Jeskai Control-ish deck, where I can see some of the bears like Plague Engineer and Collector Oof not being that great. Potentially the Snuff Outs as well.
Correct.
They're probably a Verdict style deck, so I'm not sure how you cut down on mana dorks.
We only saw Jeskai colors, right? We didn't see green.
Correct.
So the reason why I asked that is because typically green means Uro, and I like endurance in that matchup. I think without green, I probably lean towards Thoughtseize.
Cool.
And then Progenitus is nice as a low resource win as well.
Nice.
I also hear I think
Sorry.
like the Soul Guy Lantern over the endurance.
Okay. Yeah, especially as a target for the Saga.
Or Saga in case the game goes late, right?
I'm so sorry.
But I don't think it's a big difference.
I've mismatched my cradles.
It's okay.
Just want to apologize for that.
I've been given a hard time in the past before.
It's really awkward.
That, right?
I would say this is pretty much a 5.
Right.
And so a 6 is probably where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, I would mulligan this. This is pretty much a 5, right? The reason why no Outland Liberator or Reclamation Sage in the 75 lane is because I think it's low impact personally.
Interesting hand. It's probably the Wirewood for me that stands out as kind of the least impactful card here.
I think I would agree, yeah, with this hand. It's that or the Shepherd, in my opinion. Shepherd can potentially force the Artisan through or something like that, right?
Do you have any players countering your onces in the blind?
I have had that happen. It typically does not end well for them.
Yes.
There have been a few occasions where it's got me because I kept a hand with once and cradle, but for the most part, it typically does not end well for an opponent.
Our opponent chose to shuffle on the Ponder, which kind of makes me want to once here for a fetch into Black Source to Thoughtseize them, because I feel like they might have kept a Island Ponder hand.
I would agree with that. And in general, I will lead with Thoughtseize almost always, right? The exception is in the mirror. If I'm on the play, then I may not. That's probably the one time. Oof. So I would just ramp here.
Yeah, because then we do get to hopefully double spell next turn.
So the nice thing about this build is the play patterns are a little bit more simplified. Like you just worry about making mana, the payoffs will
will essentially pay themselves off, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Okay. Nice. Um, I I think it's the Narset because we can obviously have 2 threats on the board next turn, which means the Teferi has to tick up if they want to keep it.
Yeah, in general, Teferi is not like super great against elves for what it's worth because it's like easily it dies to more easily, and then also the Teferi only digs 1 deep, whereas the Narset digs 4, right? I think I
Correct.
agree with that.
Nice. Put that over here. Yeah, hopefully no Staticaster. Planes. Swords. Okay. Pretty easy turn of just Saga, Shepherd attack.
Yeah, I think so. We know their hand, right? Because they drew the
Correct.
swords. Saga is gonna hopefully, prove its value here, right? Against some of these slower control decks, just like flood the board.
Pass.
We might end up getting a little bit punished for not having the lantern though.
Yeah, correct. Just for the extra value.
Mm-hmm. I think I would bog our opponent right now and see what they do.
Pretty happy to attack. Yeah. Stuff, because if you're not attacking, then like, how are you winning the game?
Right. And also, we kind of the bog is like a small test for Snapcaster too.
Hmm. I wonder if the Saga. Oh, is this gonna be okay? I was gonna say the Saga might be a reason for them to hold on the Teferi.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of why I like the lantern too, right? In some of these really long games, it's almost like a 3 or 4 for 1, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you just make a token here with trigger on the stack.
Hmm. Okay. I guess that's a pretty easy way to deal with the constructs.
Ah.
But yeah, I feel like an Elves play now, drawing the Progenitus. That's kind of like your hazing. Ruination. Tough.
Oof. 3 for 1 there, but I mean,
Probably the Windswept for another Dryad gives
yeah.
us potentially 4 mana next turn,
Mm-hmm.
which is Green Suns for. Do you reckon they run Containment Priest?
They could typically. I don't think priest is that great against elves because you can just like get a grist, right?
Yeah, it's very
It's
true.
not the worst.
Grist's one of the best printings maybe for elves. Actually, that's another reason why I think even if we had tried Fiend Artisan earlier, it wouldn't have been as good because it didn't have its friends, right? It didn't have endurance and Grist from Modern Horizons 2 yet when it got printed.
Yeah, Grist has been awesome. It's nice that Haywire Might, which is the 1 mana artifact where you can exile an artifact or enchantment and gain 2 life for a green, is also an insect. So if you flip it to Grist, you get a second token.
That is sweet. I've had it happen a few times with Water with Symbiote.
Like this. Just trying to think if there's any point to play the land first.
No, I don't think so either. Not in this situation.
Oof.
Was it just 4 lands?
Yeah, in a natural order.
I think you just take the fetch. Yeah, our opponent is on looks like a hard control, right? No creatures deck.
Verdict's tough. And with both Dry Dabs in the bin, there's no real point. I guess we can get the Bayou out of the deck.
Yeah. The one thing to keep in mind though is we did bottom 4 lands, so that is reason maybe the 3 lands, I guess.
Great point.
No, we're not able to hardcast Prog at some point. I had Artisan for Prog before. Ironically enough, on the first stream I played Artisan.
Force negation.
I think given that, well, actually, we don't even have any more targets for this Verdant Catacombs.
Yeah, just Savannah left, I believe. I like that a few players in Elves have been playing around with. Is it something Prospector? It like counters activated abilities or like triggered abilities unless they pay 2.
Oh yeah, Strict Proctor.
Yeah, that card's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was it came up in our stream, and what's it called? The idea behind it is it stops the trigger from Touch the Spirit Realm. I was debating back and forth between that and Hushbringer, but I think ultimately Hushbringer is probably still better because they're still paying 3 mana for maybe to deal with your 1 drop or 2 drop, right?
Hmm. Interesting that they thinned there instead of keeping like a fetch for Brainstorm. Okay, Mental's pretty good. Visionary would be sweet. This is other elves, correct? Oh.
No, it counts itself too.
Oh, so you can attack with it, and then
you could, but I think you're short, man. I think you have to play the Cradle, so I don't think so. I think we only have 1 fetchable left.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Tough. Hey, Ramar, welcome. It's tough because we're so close to just like a few creatures and hoof.
I think from here it's probably gonna be really tough. I think, but we'll try.
I kind of want to hold this.
Yeah, unfortunately that Progenitus is in hand, so yeah.
But at least their mentor in play probably means they're not likely to
Sweet, yeah.
yeah, board wipe, so But it's got to be good. It's got to be. I guess we took out the Elvish Visionaries, so that's not a live draw.
What do you mean we took out the visionaries?
Because we took out the Wirewood Visionary plan, didn't we? Oh, was that? Oh no, so that was our Doomsday, of course.
Yeah. I think
Apologies.
we still have it. I think the only swap I would make is probably swap the endurance because it doesn't have any applications here. For the Soul God Lantern.
I think at this stage I'm happy to concede.
Yeah, I think we can concede if you know, for in interest of the chat, right? Of the stream. We are pretty behind now.
Nice. I assume against this sort of deck, you just kind of hope to not be in a situation where you care about Mentor. And so you have Thought Seizers to deal with them in hand, but once they're on the board, you just try to play around it in a way. I guess you also have Grist.
I don't like boarding in Engineer just to deal with the Mentor. I think it's not great.
Yep. Nice. Cool.
And who knows? What if Mentor's only like a 1 or 2 of? Then it's really bad.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, okay. If we go turn 1 Green Suns for Dryad Arbor, we can then go off a Bayou. Next turn we can play Shepherd off the Dryad Arbor, and then Cradle gives us 3 mana for an uncountable Grist.
Yep, that's exactly how I would play it.
Nice.
So our hand is actually quite good potentially if they don't have turn 1 removal, and even if they do, I think it's still good. Obviously, we would like for one of the Cradles to be like another creature, but I think it's pretty solid. So, Dukes, I have a great question for you since you're casting a Green Sun right now. How much am I slacking by not having the old border Green Sun?
Look, I didn't want to bring it up. Honestly, it's that's nice. That's the card we don't really care about at this stage. Yeah, I really like them. I'm a big fan, but look, I think the originals are still very nice. So, sweet. So we get to go Shepherd into Grist. That's planned.
Cage is kind of annoying and not stock too, but
oh, what? 2 elves? Oh, the Wirewood. Oh, now that is value. Yeah, go elves. Nice. Love it. I thought it was a bug for a second. Well, I guess technically an insect is a bug, but that's kind of lame. Yeah.
Ugh, that's not good. I guess we can check. I think we fetch first here.
Yeah, probably just getting a basic. Yeah.
Yeah. To thin before the ones.
We can't find Thoughtseize anyway, so we might as well tap like this. Oh, Shepherd? Wirewood? Shepherd.
I think the Wirewood here.
Ah, my bad.
It's okay. I think that's fine. The reason being is if we draw into a Visionary, then we can rebuild faster. Like, Shepherd doesn't really do anything on this board. Which is why I've said, like, on my stream a few times, I think the card is, like, kind of overrated. I think just blue players don't like playing against it, but it doesn't really do much, in my opinion.
Let's push a shuffle, which is nice. Swords here. Sure.
Well, at least it drew out the swords.
Yeah. Land. Tick up.
I think we just play the fetch and continue thinning. The cage is problematic, though.
Yeah, really awkward.
Good thing you binned the Green Sun there, though.
Thank you. That was a strategic choice. I think just getting the extra basic is fine.
Yeah, I don't think you need more than one Bayou.
I would love to ulti this Grist, but I'm not too sure how relevant that's going to be. Have you won via many ultimates off Grist?
It's happened probably like a dozen times or so. It's typically not the game plan, and you're pretty ahead if you can do it already. I think where it's come in really handy is only like maybe 3 times or so, where the game was not really in, was not in, where when the game was still in doubt, so to speak.
Hmm. Hey Jerry, welcome.
They could prismatic ending it, but I think so far it's doing a lot of work. Our draws have not been stellar, but that is part of the price we pay for running a higher land count.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I've definitely been in this position before with Mav where it doesn't always feel great, but huh. This is pretty nice for us. Because they either have to use a removal spell on an insect token, or we just get to attack the Narset.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm probably just happy just continuing to tick up.
Oh, the thing is only a 2/2, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I think it's probably fine to just continue ticking up.
I think it was a Fiend. Also just keeping an eye. So we have, I believe, 5 creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're kind of at 8. Mentor. Not too bad as we do have the Grist.
Mm-hmm.
But problematic. Hmm.
That's actually a decent draw. I think we have to take down the mentor right now.
It's fine. Do you play this out, or do you keep it for another spell?
What do you mean?
Like,
Yeah, I think I keep it. I think I play it out because it could matter that we need to block the mentor tokens later on.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah, and I guess right now we can actually make this a 5/5, which is pretty sweet.
Right.
We do know about Teferi. Yeah, it's tough because like Cage, of course, turns to natural order as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think the route to victory here, outside of drawing the hoof naturally, is we have to naturally draw the visionary and the Marwood, but it's going to be tough, I think, on this board state now. The mentor is a little bit hard to deal with.
Yeah, and there's no great way here to block, so I think we just lose the Grist.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, otherwise we just lose the Grizz next turn anyways, and so I just let the Grizz go here.
Yeah. Tough. Okay.
It also has hurt us. I don't think we drew Thoughtseize this game. I probably attack the Teferi and see what they do.
Okay. Well, we have a
This
plan.
kind of game, this kind of game is typically where Wirewood and Visionary shine, but you don't see too many hard control Jeskai builds anymore.
Yeah. Hey, Rancor, huge thank you for the raid. Hope you're doing well. Will they attack? I guess they attack with just the Shark token. They attack with everything. That just means they have Supreme Verdict, right?
I think so. We might as well block and see. The block is kind of free for us right now, anyways.
Yeah. I should have actually blocked first and then pumped.
That's true. In case they swords in response for some reason.
Tough. One Dried Arbor. I guess it doesn't matter because of the cage. Yeah, the only other land is the Savannah, so we might as well allow that. But that's tough. To like
Yeah.
destroy your creatures, destroy your lands. It's like, okay. That's a big boy.
I was just gonna say too. I was like, I wonder if we should just hold the fetch here because there wasn't really a reason to play it on that board.
Yeah, that's actually a great point.
But it's hard to say, right? Like Ruination's not super common, but we did see it game 2.
Okay.
I think that's gonna ultimately be the reason why we win or lose, though. So
Hey, without reason. Welcome. It's pretty good. That's...
kind of brutal.
Okay. So it might be worth turning a Cradle into a Saga if we get to untap with the Reclaimer.
Yeah.
Big if. Yeah.
Also, big if. I think there's a chance we should potentially take Teferi off the board too, right?
Yes.
You wouldn't be an elf player. You didn't draw Progenitors.
Shark Typhoon. Rough.
I think it's kind of unfortunate. We didn't draw any of our Thoughtseizes this game, and we're down to. I'm trying to think. Half the deck already, right?
Yeah, 31 left. And no Black Source either to cast it now.
Yeah, and now it's too late. We don't want to draw now.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. Jeez.
Yeah, we also drew quite poorly this game, and just so happened the cage like turned off for Green Sun too. Kind of surprised they took the card there. I'd probably wait another turn.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have another one. No. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
because you get the extra card, right? I mean, and you keep the Teferi on board, which is I think pretty relevant.
that gets rid of the cage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you just do it on end step.
Yeah.
Or if they have removal in response to the Wirewood.
Correct.
How many Visionary or Wirewood is in our graveyard right now?
Currently there is one Wirewood.
Okay, and then we still have one Visionary left in the deck.
Correct.
Okay, so that's probably what we're green sunning for. Might be a hard cast force here.
I'll snap into. I thought they might have had. Yeah, Force of Will. Guess we could have lit on the bog, but I really wanted to get the cradle going with the.
Yeah. I don't follow you. I would have made the same play because I really want to get the extra card immediately. And then we just bog now, I guess.
Now stuff. It's kind of endurance or bust up the top because we'll just lose to the shark token in the air.
Right. Actually, we boarded out the endurances, so we probably have to like combo kill our opponent now.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, I think you have to get the Visionary, assuming it's still in the deck. That gives you a blocker for Snapcaster too, and buys a turn. You can play the Reclaimer and then bounce. Oh, make sure to tap the Cradle mana first.
Yeah, apologies. Yeah, because we.
All good.
Oh, of course. And I all good. I returned the wrong creature. I thought it was return and then untap. Not yeah. And we sadly lose to the 3/3 in the air. My bad.
It's okay. I think we would have lost anyways. Like we had to deal with it. Essentially, we had to kill them the next turn.
Yes. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I've got the deck list on the screen. And if you want to talk to chat, that'd be cool.
Sure. Anybody have any questions for me regarding the list? I know Inigo just streamed as well, and he talked a little bit about like deck construction and how the deck is built at the moment. But I'll gladly answer for anybody who either missed Inigo's stream or just tuning in right now, right? Yeah, so Hushbringer is a card that is we wanted some extra help against initiative just to make sure we can beat it consistently. And it was either that or removal. Hushbringer tends to be a little bit better in some of the more difficult matchups, which is why I've opted to splash lightly for the Savannah, right? We beat Doomsday, so Hushbringer was relevant then. We actually won a game because of it. Game two, or game. It was either game two. I forget if we 2-0 or 2-1 then, but definitely won a game. I think I will go ahead and use the restroom as well right now, and then I'll be right back. If depends if I get back before Dukes or not, but I'll answer any other further questions too.
Bounce back. Did I lose you? I think I did. Ah, Newton's AFK as well? Okay, cool. Alright. To me this seems like a pretty solid hand. We have a pretty easy way to make these Reclaimers 3/4s. We have acceleration in Llanowar Elves. We have Green Suns, something like Wirewood or potentially Allosaurus Shepherd needed. And although the oof is quite specific to the matchup, as a 6, this is pretty strong. Oh, on the play as well. I think, yeah, it's pretty hard not to just go for basic into Llanowar Elf. Nice.
Apologies, I'm back.
No, all good. The keep was 2 lands, Llanowar Elf, Green Suns, double Reclaimer, Collector Oof, which seems pretty strong. I think it's a 6 with just like the Oof. It's pretty nice.
Right. With that can randomly win against certain decks.
Yeah. Oh, this could be initiative.
Okay.
Able. Okay, that's pretty nice because this does turn off the tokens.
Mm-hmm. They are most likely either Painter or Moonstompy, but I think we can potentially just run, so to speak, everything out here, right? 'Cause the thing about Reclaimer being X2 is at least it's like kind of nice against Fury, right?
Yeah. It's just Oof and then we save the Green Suns.
I think so. The thing is, we don't have anything great to Green Sun for anyways right now. Like maybe the Visionary, but I don't think that's like.
Yeah, and at least as of next turn, these Reclaimers will be 3/4s, so we just have to try to fade Fury if it is in the main deck just for one turn.
Right. Great question without reason. I just don't think you need it anymore, and it's kind of a liability against Delver. I think Fiend Artisan does what you want Glimpse of Nature to do, right? I don't want to draw 2 cards randomly instead of tutoring exactly what you want, right?
Okay. I kind of feel like our opponent missed their second main phase potentially. Because surely, after Fabling once and also having 6 cards in hand, they have another land drop. But
yeah, or they forgot about the oof. That's the only other explanation I can think.
Yes. Is there much difference in sideboarding between Painter and Mono Red?
I think it is because Shepherd is good against Mono Red because of Chalice. I think in this situation we don't want the. Well, I guess are we assuming that they're on? It depends what we think they're on to, right? Do we assume they're on Painter or do we assume they're on Mono Red? I would assume Painter because most of the Mono Red players have switched to Initiative, I think.
Yeah, and they're not playing Lotus Petal, I believe. We saw the Lotus Petal in the bin.
That is a great point. So I think I would take out the Snuff Outs. I would bring in the Hushbringers, and I would bring in the Endurances. And both Needle and Soul Guide Lantern are good too.
Nice. Engineer's still pretty nice as well against obviously all the elves. And killing Welder is quite nice.
So I think you can cut the shepherds because they don't really do anything in this matchup. They're just a 1 mana 1/1.
Nice. Bog's still
And
relevant.
then
Obviously, Besage is quite good. Collector Oop is obviously fantastic.
yeah, I think I would also cut the Plague Engineer here
Okay.
because there's only one welder, and then we're at 62, and I probably from here trim one Visionaire, one Wirewood.
Nice. Awesome. I'm just going to check on the dog. I'll be 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
Come on.
So answer key gaming. One of the nice things is pairing into it a Fury deck here is good because I kind of want to see how that plays out. I'm not like 100% sure it's great, but I think in theory it could be okay. Obviously they can pitch a red card and then just get a 0 mana 3/3 double striker, but then we can also block with our own endurance plus what is it called? Plus Fiend
Nice.
Artisan or Reclaimer, right?
Pretty happy with this.
Yep.
Nice. I like how, yeah, I feel sideboarding with this deck is very clean.
It's because, and I can send you this, Dukes. I've mapped it beforehand, like essentially how I want the sideboard.
Nice.
And it helps to have a spreadsheet essentially.
This is a pretty nice
This-
hand if this survives.
Yes.
'Cause
If
Grist,
it doesn't survive, then it's a little bit dicey. Depends what we draw. The good thing is it has multiple layers of interaction, and it has a game plan and grist as well.
yeah. I'm pretty happy to keep it up again
Yeah.
and see how it pans out.
The other thing about elves is it's not a deck that can really mulligan aggressively either, because it's a critical mass deck even in today's build. Wow, they're on that build deck.
Interesting.
So I think that changes our game plan a little bit. I think we want the
Yes.
basic now. Well, we're gonna once first because we want to see the basic force.
Probably just the other Mystic,
I think I take the land here to be honest. So the Beseju.
Beseju.
Yeah, and then just fetch a basic and then play the. Cause it's really important to have to hit your third land drop in this kind of deck. So we completely misevaluated what our opponent was on, but I think in the dark it was correct what we did. Especially since the painter is quite popular at the moment too.
Bolt. Oh wow. Okay, so it actually is just mono red initiative. Oh, red white. Sorry.
Oh wow, I didn't realize they played that now. Yeah, I think we play the land and then we play the needle. I don't even know what we name here.
Activated abilities. I guess Mother of Runes?
Yeah, I guess that's. I don't even know what else it could have. Like, or touch the spirit realm is another one, but
Oh yeah.
they can just touch that. So I think mother is probably correct.
Mother of the Runes. I feel like we're looking towards like Cradle next turn and then potentially evoking out an Endurance to tap this for mana to then get an Endurance into play. Probably just getting rid of the Grist because we can't cast it.
Yes, I like that play a lot too. And as some of these Ravager decks, if you kill a Ravager, it's hard for them to win. We did completely
Misboard.
n- misevaluated their deck though. So we're gonna have to rechange our sideboard.
Aggressive. That's pretty good because that's one less bolt that can take out the endurance after blocks.
Right. So they're playing pretty aggressively. I'm not sure I agree with that bolt, but that's neither here nor there.
Oof.
Oh wow.
That's 5, and then like yeah, now it's really tough. So we kind of like have to block this now. I guess they get protection, yeah. That's on us.
Yeah, I think we just chalked that up. We didn't know what they were on, right? I think we had to completely change. I would cut all the endurances and then bring in all the snuff outs. No engineer though.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I like here is we could probably cut the artifacts, right? No. Now that we know what they're on. The
Yeah.
needle and the Sokai lantern. And then bring in back the copies of Shepherd.
Nice.
I think in this kind of matchup too, the way I have it mapped is
Oh, sorry.
it's all good. It's all good. I was gonna say you want to take out some copies of the Artisan too,
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I
because
wonder
it's a
if
little
they.
bit. You just want to flood the board.
Unfortunately, nothing to cast here. We're probably just going to 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Can bottom the Progenitus, and then if they do deal with a 1-mana creature here, we have a turn 2 Artisan.
Right. So I think you
And
bottom
also the.
Progenitus. You lead with the once because you know the Progenitus is on the bottom
Yes. Nice.
before fetching. But typically speaking, I would board down to 2 Artisan because it's not really a card I want to see early.
Mm.
Uh, and then I think just like having more water when more visionary is like probably better in this kind of matchup.
Opponent goes to 6.
You just take the cradle.
Yes.
And
And then
fetch,
basic.
no, Bayou.
By I guess yeah, it also turns on Grist and Snuff out.
Also, they don't have mana denial out of this deck. Like, well, then again, we don't know what their list is running because it's not stock anyways. But yeah, this is kind of why you want to just be double spelling here, right?
Hmm.
You don't want too many artisans post board.
Land off the top. Do you just go natural order for Progenitus?
Yeah.
Nice.
Get a fetch of arbor here.
Yep. I've seen some lists run Council's Judgment in the board, but I think that's probably their only out, if not somehow try to race us.
Interesting. I feel like double white would be kind of problematic, but I
Yeah,
guess they want an answer for like true name or something like that.
that's a big ask for them as well to have 3 cards in hand, one be a white source, one be a Council's Judgment.
Mm-hmm. But I don't remember. Yeah, I would probably keep in the Waterwood and the Visionary because they're good for flooding the board in initiative. And we just, I know this is red white, but the mono white version doesn't have any sweepers.
Mm,
So you just flood the board, and then later on you can pull ahead with your one or two of Artisan,
yeah, that's a great point.
and then Artisan typically in the mid game will get a Gris, and that should lock it up.
Yeah, Progenitus I can only assume a pretty big headache for this deck, especially early. Like turn through Progenitus is very, very strong.
Right. Because it's just 2 shots, right, and then they're just dead. Sometimes with all the ancient too, maybe sometimes even one, right?
I kind of hope this is just Archon that we saw and not Seasoned, but they would have cast that most likely beforehand.
Right.
Okay. I mean, they're so close because next turn this will be at least a 5/5, and then this will be a 5/5. I guess only one can get protection from green, so we're looking.
Well, if
pretty
they
good.
have the season, then 2 can get it, but it's going to be close, I think.
Mm. Yeah, so I definitely don't want to fetch.
I think you just play. Well, actually, yeah, I was gonna say I think you attack first, get the initiative, get the land, and then you can keep 3 creatures up.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would have mattered because they either have protection or they don't, right?
Yeah, taking the initiative here as well is pretty big.
Mm-hmm. They can force it back, obviously, with the mother runes, but the other thing with holding the fetch there is we can kind of like conceal our hand too. Like maybe we have
Yeah.
a blowout card. One thing that they could potentially do is solitude their own creature to gain life, or
Yeah.
swords their own creature.
Or bolts. Bolts put us to 8. And then if they have multiple ways to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm gonna bolt a creature. Okay. I think I'm pretty happy about that because now this is a 4/4.
Yeah. Also, the fetch here could be relevant too if they don't have another protection spell.
Okay.
How big is that thing now?
It'll be a 5/5, I believe, if they.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't think we can. Well, actually,
Huh.
I don't think it matters if we fetch or not.
Yeah.
Whew.
Nice. That's a nice one to take
Okay.
down. Especially with the boarding after game 1.
Yeah. We pretty
That's
much
on
gave
me.
them a game too.
If you couldn't play a Cradle deck, what would you play at a competitive event?
In the past, I've enjoyed playing DNT a lot. I don't know how competitive it is at the moment. I like creature decks, so DNT like comes to mind. I think if I think I would play potentially. So the decks I own online are like DNT, Elves. I own Ant and Doomsday as well. So maybe one of those decks. I would
Oh,
play
cool.
potentially Delver too, but I'm a little bit weary of playing Delver because I'd probably be at best an average Delver player.
I hear. I hear. This is a pretty good hand.
Yeah, I like it.
Has a little bit of game against everything, and then obviously
Mhm.
the lands line up really well as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think they
Probably.
are on a red Stompy player. I think I paired into them the other day and like
Hmm.
it did not go well. Oof.
At least we have the once. It does turn off the saga. Also could find Beseiju, I guess. Um,
The
I
problem
don't mind. Just
I think you want to hope to hit the one of the basics, right?
yeah,
One of the two basics.
neg. Hmm.
Oof. I'd probably just take the dork.
Yeah. Okay. Don't really care about that.
It's gonna be rough. Like one of the problems with this deck is we don't have Force of Will and we can't stop, a turn one cheese play.
Preaching. Preaching to the choir. Newton.
This is one of the issues with not having Force of Will in your deck. I believe this is the same player that I think it is, yeah, that beat me the other day too.
Hmm.
And this build in particular is, I think, harder for us to beat. I know some people don't like, Caves of the Chaos Adventure. I think that card is quite good against elves because of how fast the clock is.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with trample.
Hmm. And unfortunately, Snuff Out is not an option, or it's less safe.
7, 9, 10.
I think we're probably just dead, to be honest.
Yeah. Tough. Okay. I guess Hushbringers aren't that bad.
I don't like Hushbring in this matchup because a Blood Moon.
Okay. Yeah. I guess getting the span is kind of rough. Thoughtseize on the play?
I don't like Dossies either for the same kind of similar. I like the Endurances because they're good against blocking the Rabble Masters.
Nice.
Progenitus
Cool.
is really good too.
Yes.
You can
Oof is pretty
probably cut a
sweet.
Plague Engineer. I don't think it's great. Hushbringer could be okay. It's probably better to be honest than a Wirewood Symbiote. The way I've
Okay.
mapped it, it does stop Fury at least.
Hmm. That's very true. Yeah. Tough.
And then you can probably take out the Snuff Outs. I don't think we want to rely on them, so to speak.
Do you find yeah, it's interesting that you bring up endurance against the Rabble Masters when obviously
Hmm.
Plague is quite good against tokens, but is it something to do with like the black in the mana cost that makes it a little less appealing?
Right. I think I would probably bringing the Hushbringer over the other Wirewood too. By the way,
Okay.
and then I
Nice.
don't think we need the Gris. I'd probably make that swap, right? Because the endurances are really just because X4s tend to line up really well against Rabble Master.
Yeah, that's true. Is this a matchup where you just don't hit your mana either? Like, do you keep the bog just because it's a black source?
I just keep it because I don't think any of the other things are better. If that makes maybe the Gris is better than the Bog. That's actually probably worth it.
Okay, nice. Very cool. Fetch land would be sweet. Nice. Turn 1 Reclaimer. It's tough because obviously the Saga is quite bad against Blood Moon effects.
Yeah, ideally you just pitch the Saga early, right?
Hmm.
To the Reclaimer and just get the other basic that way. I think you just go turn 1 fetch basic. This has like 2 really good cards in the opening hand, which is why I like it. Which is the Endurance and the Reclaimer.
Opponent goes to 6. Which doesn't mean too much. I was playing with XJ on the weekend with Mono White Initiative, and like some of the 5s were just broken, especially when you get White Plume to replace straight away.
Right. That makes a lot of sense actually. And why they a lot of the prominent initiative players have mentioned, yeah, you should be mulliganing aggressively with that deck.
Oh, okay, nice.
I think we just play
Okay.
the Saga here and then like end step or in response to removal, get a basic.
Chandra's fine.
Interesting.
I guess if they tick down on the Reclaimer, can we... I'm trying to think of a way to like Cradle next turn if we get Dried Up, but it doesn't work.
No, I think we need to slam the Endurance. Well,
Oh yeah, okay. So what if we go turn this Saga into Dried Arbor, untap, we have 2 mana, we play Cradle, we play Endurance pitching Cradle Hoof, tap this for 2 mana, and then we have 4 mana, and we can Natural Order into Progenitus.
yeah, that works.
Nice.
And Chandra's kind of slow again in the face of that, anyways.
Yeah, like I think Bridge is probably their only out from there. Like they could go all in on Fury, I guess, but that might be what they're thinking at the moment. Yeah, that's tough. Okay. I guess Reclaim is a 3/4 now.
Yeah, I would do that. We still also have Progenitus next turn now.
Correct.
Depending what they do, we can even potentially take the Chandra off the board too, right?
Yeah. Nice. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, it's always nice to use Endurance as Lotus Petal.
Okay. That's probably the thing I care about the least, which is nice.
Right. Fable's good in a slower game, but we're gonna prog them pretty soon. I think after attacking, right?
Yep. Cradle. Cast. I
So
guess
make sure to
triggers on the stack. We can tap for 2. Don't really want to target either player.
I think you target
them, but that's about it. They could have the squee or whatever, but that's like very narrow. But usually it's correct. It's like fine either way, I think. This matchup is, in general, I think right now the Fury matchups are probably the hardest for the Elves.
Nice.
I don't have a clean what's it
What?
called? A clean way to answer Fable is part of the problem.
Yeah, that's fair. One card I really liked in just like Green White Maverick was Burden Forge Tender, because it's quite good
okay.
against like in the festivities was a bit of an issue, and obviously Fury. And then against Mono Red, it's very hard. It's impossible for them to deal with once it's on the bin in play.
One
Yeah,
thing
kinda
that
cool.
is go ahead.
No, that's it.
One thing it does that I like that it's creature. I don't like that it's walks into Chalice, but it is kind of nice too because yeah, they can't really deal with it, and you can find it off once upon a time. What are your thoughts on Absolute Law?
I've definitely played it in D&T before, but I found it was just a little bit too slow. And the Burden was nice because I played it in a green white build with Stoneforge Mystic, so it was also a threat with equipment.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, and I think just with Mav, I'm a big fan of like having disruption as pressure as well. Like I think Deafening Silence is probably the only card that goes against that, just because it is turn one interaction against a lot of combo decks and it has great versatility.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think if it's not turn one disruption, it better attack well, right, as well.
Yeah. Do you change anything on the play or draw? No, cool. Nice.
Because I think the Wirewood Symbiote engine is like way too slow in this kind of matchup.
Really nice to have that basic.
It is, yeah.
Pretty awesome hand.
And the Hushbringer potentially relevant to cheat in endurance too, right?
Yeah. Oh, nice. Because what, you get to evoke it, but then
just keep the creature, right? You just
that's
like,
cool.
I've often said, like, in these kind of prison matchups, if we are hellbent, it's probably a good sign because that means that we got to play Magic, right? Like against lands or against like Moon Stompy. If we have 7, this probably means we're losing.
Huge. No turn one play is massive. Oh, of course. I assume here it's just basic into Elf and then keep this for Savannah.
Yes. The nice thing is, if we get the Hushbringer online, we can just pitch the endurance, right? I mean, the Progenitus to endurance now.
Yeah, very nice. Please be Fable. Oh, Trinisphere.
Hitting Chrome
that is
a
fine.
thing, but...
Oh, of course, it costs 3. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So we don't have to...
Nice.
So we don't have to worry about Fury anymore, at least.
Yes. Charles for 1. At this stage, that is more than fine. I guess we can play Elf and then also play Cradle to hold up Endurance as just hardcast. Yeah, no, like because of the Chalice. Apologies.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I think here we probably play the Saga.
Yep.
Just to start getting that going, and then just hold that up for Flash and Endurance.
Nice.
In a lot of ways, the Trinisphere hurts them now, I think.
Yeah, like I was really scared of them going like Chrome Mox Soul Land into like 4-drop, and then maybe like 2-3 drops the following turn. Like Magus here isn't that big of an issue, even though we lose the Saga. Like we're attacking for 4 each turn now. And I probably just want to keep these because of like Green Suns for Reclaimer. Get that as a 3/4.
Mhm.
Also, I guess it actually doesn't trigger because of the Hushbringer.
Mhm.
I actually think our opponent should have mulled. I'm not a big fan of, especially against Maverick, them keeping a hand that doesn't have a turn 1 play. Like even a turn 2 Trinisphere, I think it's just too slow.
Mhm. Yeah, especially against a natural deck, right? Like they could just have that kind of line.
The Magus means we don't really care about what we play, but there's probably a world where we can't even cast Snuff out. I guess we do have Green Suns for Grist down the line, so potentially, like if we drew Green Suns next turn,
Go ahead.
does it matter what land we play this turn? I don't think so because we can play it next turn as well. But
Right. I don't think the land matters at this point because of the Magus. If anything, play the fetch because in case the Magus dies for some reason,
yes, that's
then
actually
we
a
can
great
just
point.
fetch. Endurance is really good in this matchup because, like I said, it's hard for them to kill.
Yeah, it's a very hard body to beat. And even if they got Chandra tick down on it, we would have the Hushbringer to finish off the Chandra in the air.
Yeah.
Huh. Not attacking with the Magus.
I think they're afraid of flashing another endurance.
Hmm. Well, that's quite nice.
I actually think we play the Landlord Elf here.
Oh, even with the Chalice?
Yeah, the reason being is in case we draw a I guess it doesn't matter that much, but in case we draw a artisan.
Ah, nice, yeah. Great point. Because I guess because we're kind of stifled on just the 2 green mana.
Right.
Okay. That does stop us from attacking.
They had to go down a card, which is nice there, right?
Correct. They
Right.
pitched
I think we
Wow.
forced the
Okay.
block here from the Fury.
On the Endurance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we still attack with both. Because the problem is their clock is faster than ours.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah, it's
think we
actually quite a nice
continue
trade for
pressuring.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we play the Collector Oof here, and then that's like potentially
And then I
yeah.
guess we...
They have to pitch a card just for a 3/3 double striker, because they're down, right? So actually, the Hushbringer I think did work this game.
Hmm. Are you still in the camp of playing the elf here?
No, I don't think so anymore.
Cool. Yeah, especially with the saga, with the Endurance now in the bin.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a slow clock, but it's a clock. And the life gain, I think, is actually relevant
Yeah,
in
definitely.
this kind of matchup.
Nice. That's actually quite nice because you can play the second Cradle.
Mm-hmm.
So like tap that for mana. Keep this one.
Actually,
Would you have done
I
it
think that's
post
fine.
comp? Oh, of course. Just streamer things. Apologies.
I think we probably bash with both, to be honest. I don't think they're gonna trade their Magus.
Okay. Yeah, I guess when they're like under 3 mana as well,
Mhm.
not that big of a deal potentially.
Well, actually, it depends. Yeah, the Bugbear can start attacking, but I think
Hmm.
they're under a lot of pressure. They could have Chandra as well if we did attack, but then it would just die, right?
Oh, nice.
Might be safe to just not attack with a collective here. It seems like it's decent.
Yeah.
Stone Ring. And we have enough mana already, anyways.
Is Hushbringer going the distance?
We are very close to Hardcast hook range too, which is funny.
Yeah, is it triple green?
It is, but we're only 1 mana short, right?
They tried to dead. Nice.
The longer the game goes, the more it favors us too. Because we have better top decks than they do.
Yeah, very true. And like Green Suns here would be just so good, even just for Grist,
Right.
I guess, and just start ticking up
And they
game
have a lot
six.
of just like dead cards now in their deck. Like all the lock pieces are useless now.
Yeah, like second Trinisphere, second Moon Effect. Oh, that's it, right? 5 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Ah,
We were just talking about this.
but Hushbringer. I guess we just get to cast it though.
We're just gonna cast it just for a 5/5.
Yeah. Okay.
And they kind of have to block.
Yeah, we can attack with everything because they have to block this. Yeah, nice. There we go. So good.
That's pretty funny, actually.
That was my first ever hoof as well.
It was my first ever hook, and it was not even for trample damage.
But it won the game. What are your hobbies outside of Magic?
I love sports.
Nice.
So I love American football. I love basketball. I even though I'm pretty casual soccer, football, I guess, fan. I love watching the World Cup.
Yeah, nice. That final was pretty spectacular, especially with France coming back in like the last 10 minutes.
It was.
Do you play any squash?
I do not. Do you play?
Yeah.
How do you like it? Or can you talk a little bit about it? I'm not super familiar, I'll be honest, with squash.
Yeah, so I grew up playing a lot of tennis at school. And then as you get older, my knees aren't too bad, but I find with an indoor court on my knees, it's much better. And yeah, squash is a workout. It's awesome, especially in Australia where it's quite hot. To play indoors is really nice. But yeah, it's awesome. Like usually, even with like a pot of like 4 players, you just hire 2 courts and play 1-on-1, and then you do like a round robin of 3, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
So yeah, really enjoy it. Like really easy to get into as well. Most places have local clubs. Like rackets aren't expensive. You can hire stuff. Yeah, and pretty quick games as well. Like usually I just play like first to 21 points.
How's the equipment like in terms of cost? Is it not pretty prohibitive?
No, not at all. You can get rackets from like maybe $50.
Oh, okay.
And then I usually wear my tennis shoes because they have a bit more play to them than like actual runners. But yeah, I love it.
No, that's good. I'll probably check it out since you mentioned it. I think you probably just keep this in the dark.
Yeah, pretty.
It could backfire, but like I don't like to mull in general.
Yeah, I mean it's not often that you could have 3 turn 1 plays in once, then reclaim and then snuff out.
I know. Open ourselves up to Mindbreak Trap again, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I think here we fetch first since we just drew the 3rd land,
Okay.
and then we once. We're gonna do that exactly what you said, right? Fetch into once, into snuff out, into reclaimer. Like
Nice.
three plays on turn 1. Oh, I changed my mind. We're gonna play the dork now.
Nice. Yeah, also
If our
buying us.
opponent... Go ahead.
You go. I was gonna say it buys us time for this reclaimer to become a 3/4, which is pretty huge in this matchup.
Also, if our opponent had forced the snuff out, we would have 4 plays on turn 1.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think same thing. We snuff that out and then see what they do.
Okay. I don't mind.
Probably play the Saga here, yeah, and get it
Yeah.
going.
Nice. Because even if they have like Bolt Days, then we can.
Right, we can pay through it.
Yeah. Nice. Interesting. Yeah, I guess they. That makes me think their last card is another threat, and that's why they didn't force the second snuff out.
Maybe, yeah, it could be a Murktide region, but I don't know.
That's pretty good.
We'll get our constructs going, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, their hand lined up well against our removal hand, but I think it's fine.
One, two, two. No shove. Wow, it's already 3-3. I was going to say Grist is probably our best draw. Is there a way to create it and cradle? There isn't.
No, I think we just play the basic here and then just play the Grist.
Yeah, because there's only one card left.
And then we tick down.
My only thought is if we top deck Bajuka Bog, having the cradle in play is quite nice.
That's true. Yeah, I think, and if they're gonna waste anything, they're probably wasting the Saga
Hmm.
on this board state. So I think you can do that. Now we would be punished if they had a Murktide region, but I mean that means like they have 4 threats, right?
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. Not too bad. Oh, I guess, but now we can't actually.
We'll just tap the mana and then we can play a Plague Engineer, right?
Yeah, that's actually a good reason to not go with the cradle, is that we can't create a creature this turn.
Mm-hmm.
And just going to go for human, because that turns off both
Yeah.
Delver and also, I guess, yes, he'll be at 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
But yeah, you brought up a good point that yeah, it might have been better to play
The basic.
the basic force just so that we could leave the option of making another construct. No, this game is pretty back and forth.
Yeah, it's got to be endurance at some point, and very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Like they had the all threats, all removal hand, and we're like, it's back and forth so far.
Yeah.
That's like typically hard for us
Oof.
to be, by the way. We're all they have no cantrips. Everything is like action, right?
Hmm.
I think we might lose this first game here, but
Yeah, if we take 6, we go to 2. Even if we top deck a endurance, we still take 3. Oh, no, we'll take 1. No, I guess we could block it, actually. So we do have endurance as an out. And we do have the mana for Green Suns for it. And that's just Murktide. Tough. I assumed the extra snuff out and the endurances.
Yes, and the
Soul Guide?
Soul Guide Lantern.
Cool. Collect Oof, pretty easy take.
Mm-hmm. And then I like to board out the natural order package personally.
Cool.
So the 3 natural orders in the hoof.
Nice.
So I think we win any game that goes longer. I don't think we need to go over the top with natural order. I think they can't really beat an endurance from what I've seen.
Yeah, although that was a pretty big bashing, that was a pretty interesting game.
I mean, that was like fireworks on both sides, right?
Yeah. Okay. Probably like a Green Sun's start for Dried Arbor.
Yeah, and I think given that we don't have another fetch here, I think we just preemptively get the Bayou.
Nice. Yeah, I like that, kind of like going a little bit overboard into Wasteland, where we give them too many targets.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and if they have force into waste, then like we're not playing around that. Like I don't think they're gonna do that, but you never know, I guess.
I feel like they thought about it.
They definitely thought about it. I think if you're the Delver player, it's more often right to force the turn 1 play if you don't have removal. If you have removal, then obviously you just hold it, depending on the hand, but
Now here, I assume you'd like to just run out the Fiend Artisan.
yes. And the reason is again for the same reason. You want to be as mana efficient as possible. Like this deck cannot really waste mana, if that makes sense.
And I think like getting rid of a Murktide's pretty huge there.
Mm-hmm. I think land drop or 2 drop is pretty nice here. 1 drop is okay too, I guess.
Yeah, and especially if they go like creature ponder and tap out to not have the bolt in response to the shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a card in Elves that you are hoping gets printed in Old Border?
Great question. I think Reclaimer is probably the one that comes to mind, right?
Yeah, nice.
I do think it is the best creature in the deck. Might be a Murktide here.
I assume. Oh,
Oh,
Braid.
Interesting. Okay.
It's going after our mana.
That is awkward.
Yeah, like I assume because we have the snuff out, we're not too afraid of Murktide. There's no world where we like try to endurance here, float the mana, and then
No.
visionary. Yeah,
I think in most circumstances, evoking endurance is not a winning line against Delver.
yeah. Alright, so 2 cards left.
I think one of them is probably
Nice.
another Murktide, based on the way that they did that.
Do you go for Dried Arbor here?
I don't think I do actually. Actually, hold on. I think with this hand, yeah, I probably do, and just slam the Fiend Artisan.
Nice.
because we want the endurance to stick, right? If the artisan does not.
Yeah.
And also, it powers out our artisan in case we need to get a grist soon.
Nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's really good.
Um,
I think you just play the Mystic and probably upkeep endurance still.
endurance. Nice.
Oh, we do it in response now.
Nice.
I think this game is now probably heavily favors us now.
Hmm. Because this can only block creatures with flying. Nice.
It's not even that. The once an endurance sticks, it's like very hard for them to win, in my opinion.
Second petty theft. Okay. Oof. Probably the same play.
Yeah, I think we make the exact same play. We can actually even wait too, right? Because there's no creatures in the yard or no spells in the yard now.
Yeah, great point.
Like before, we would have done it on their upkeep to waste their mana, but I think there's no need now. We're like pretty ahead, in my opinion. Like given the knowledge of our hand, maybe they don't know that, but knowing that we have two endurance and a visionary in play, I think we're pretty ahead.
I think this is worth responding to.
Yeah, probably.
Can't really play around days, unfortunately. Actually, we know the last card. No, the card in exile is a bauble, so we don't know the last card in hand.
The funny thing is, iteration is actually not that great against us anymore.
What was
And
on
the
top?
reasoning is, huh?
Okay. Well, they looked at the top card and then conceded an upkeep, so I assume they saw this and were like, yeah, we can't beat that.
And the reason why EI is not that good against elves anymore, at least this build, is because they can't really afford to tap out, in my opinion. Like it's so dangerous. Like every threat is a must answer out of our build.
Nice. I assume we're just running this back.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The Soul Guy Lantern is really just like a card that we can fetch off Saga, but it's probably the weakest of the 50 of the 60 cards, right? It's the last card in, or that or Play Engineer.
Sadly, no. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think the weakest card there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that even though I think it's the Mystic, because we have the Green Suns to ramp if we really want to, and double Reclaimer, like sticking, is just so good.
I actually think no. I think the weakest card is actually the Shepherd here.
Okay. Just because it's so easy to remove that it doesn't really do anything.
Right, and turn one Dork is just really powerful in our shell.
Yep, and I guess like keeping the Green Suns for like a Grist or maybe an Endurance is pretty nice as well.
Right, right. And if we want, yeah, the Green Sun's obviously the second strongest card behind Cradle here. Like Reclaimer's just completely broken this matchup.
Ooh, that's quite nice. Because now we can potentially hold the Windswept for Bayou.
Yes. Like in case we draw the Snuff out later on, right? And without exposing ourselves to Wasteland. And if they want to daze, then so be it.
How old your dog?
He is gonna be turning 4 pretty soon.
Nice.
How old is yours?
Connie, I believe, is 5.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're good breeds.
Are, do you also have an Aussie Shepherd?
Close. Connie is a. She does have some. She's a mix.
Gotcha.
Um,
I think we just run out both Reclaimers and try
Lenoir.
to Green Sun for endurance.
Next turn.
I think we're gonna
'Cause we-
take a lot of damage, and I think we have to take the chance that they can daze it here.
Can we green suns for endurance?
Well, what we can do is run out the Landlord Elf on the Mystic, see if they daze that. That's kind of like a check for daze, right?
Yeah, nice. Okay. But then this is just 3 mana off the cradle.
Right. Uh, Actually, we're one short for endurance. My mistake.
No, all good. That kind of makes me want to save the cradle and play the Windswept Heath.
I think we play the Heath and just fetch Bayou then,
Nice.
and then play the Reclaimer. I miscounted. Otherwise, I would have sequenced it a little bit differently. I would have
Okay.
probably not exposed this Reclaimer to daze.
The last one.
Yeah, the last one. I would have played it Reclaimer, and then exposed the Landlord Elf to daze.
Hmm. Okay.
These are the hard starts that are hard to beat. I think where they have
What else?
like
Just thinking like turn on DRC with Bauble and then ponder second threat into expressive 5 cards in hand, like motoring along.
Mhm.
But no land.
What's the exile card?
Brainstorm.
Mhm.
So here I
So-
guess we get to just use the cradle for endurance and then hold up 4 mana for the reclaimers if needed.
Yeah, I like that. We probably have the bog soon, but then we'll check. We'll do Green Sun for 3 first. Actually, tapping the cradle, and then see how they respond.
Hmm.
Technically speaking, we could actually Green Sun for 1, and that's lethal.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we did. We were so tunnel vision into that, but yeah, technically we could have done that. I think here we're gonna have to
Draw step bog.
yeah, I think draw step bog is probably correct here, and so we just pass, right, and just leave the other reclaimer up. I wonder if they would have fallen for it if we went Green Sun for 1 instead of 3.
Yeah.
But if they played correctly, then they would have forced anyways, right?
I assume here we just get rid of the Bayou because then we'll just have a black source through the bog anyway.
Oh no, I would get rid of the basic, right?
Forest.
That doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's actually true, especially with how our mana base is currently.
Right. That way, also end step, we can actually reclaimer the bog away for an arbor too, right?
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, I guess if our opponent like if they didn't know what was up, we can get Shepard that's lethal. But I'm assuming they knew. So if they played it correctly, it didn't change anything. Uh, Saga is a good point, Cass Haven. That is a great point.
Going for Saga here.
Yeah.
Nice.
I keep forgetting that's in the deck, but yeah, and it's nice too because it can make tokens right away.
Yeah.
But that is a great point by Cathaven. Again, I gotta get used to these play patterns myself. I think we
Attack.
play the Larwood and bash with all and see what they
Yeah.
do. And then
And
you can
then like return untap.
yeah.
Nice. It's tough because they haven't cast a bolt yet. Yeah. And that's just game.
Brutal.
But yeah, those sort of starts from Delver are just really hard to deal with.
I think we got a little bit punished for not keeping the Shepherd this game too. And maybe because we had two reclaimers, that would be reason to keep it. But I generally think the reclaimer is better than Shepherd in this kind of matchup.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we finished 3-2, which isn't too bad. I will take that as an entry into Elves.
I think you play quite well as well. Like considering that you had never played the deck before, I think your experiences with Maverick definitely helped out there. Like like I said, this version is a little bit more straightforward to play than previous versions. So I think both things definitely were in our favor.
I actually really enjoyed it as well. So I think I'm going to keep these cards on loan and take it through another league. So you've definitely...
I'm glad to hear you really enjoyed it. What was the appealing part? Like just the gameplay? It's kind of similar to Maverick, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's the case of like with Maverick, your opponent can just tap out, but with this deck, you have a lot more ways to just really... what's the word?
Agency?
Like you can... It's obviously a mistake for your opponent to tap out, so you can...
Natural order?
Yeah, you can... Yeah, you can like make that blow up in their face. Is pretty much what I'm trying to say.
You can punish them. Maybe that's what you mean.
Punish them. There we go. Yes, they get very punished for doing that. And yeah, also just like the sideboard, like nice and clean, like a lot of 3 elves. Obviously, these being tutor targets is nice. Yeah, and just like there's a lot of play to it as well, which is what I really like.
Yeah, it is a very, I would say, if you're the type of person who enjoys like very complex decks, and the good thing is, even though it's complex, I think somebody who has never played elves before can actually play it because there's no more glimpse of nature, right? Like the sequencing matters, but not nearly as much, if that makes sense. And only kind of matters in like artisan untaps and things like that. But yeah, it's like the gameplay is pretty straightforward, and then I'll go ahead and actually send you my my sideboard map too for this, since it'll aid you along, I think.
Too kind. Nice. That'd be very cool. Because yeah, I find like sideboard maps are quite nice to be able to make your changes and then have a look at a sideboard guide to see what's different, and then assess like, okay, why did you make your initial changes? What's different? Why do you think they're different? Instead of just looking at it going, okay, 3 there, 2 there, let's switch those. So, yeah, a huge thank you for coming on. Where can people find you?
Oh, great question. I think you can find me on Twitter. Let me bring that up real quick. Here is my Twitter account. And also for those who are interested in joining my Discord, here's that. 1 second.
Nice. There's your Patreon. And of course, you stream as well.
Yeah, I do stream. So I was gonna bring that up real quick as well. Here is my Discord for those who are interested in this deck. A lot of the material is free. Only the stuff that I guess requires only Patreon is what requires any money. But I think, to be honest, the best way to learn the deck is to watch the YouTube videos or Twitch if you're live, and then secondly, to play yourself. I think Patreon is nice if you really want to commit to it long term. And then here is my Twitch account. And nice to have Straz Daddy back here. Oh, I guess that's Tron Travolta. Sorry.
Yeah, just the name is hilarious. Yeah, this has been awesome. It's been really cool over the past few days playing a few different decks with a few different people. And yeah, obviously it's been a long time in the making. All right, I'm gonna see who else is streaming. When are you streaming next?
That is a great
when
question.
are you
Not
stream-
tonight, because I think that would be a lot to ask to do 2 nights in a row. I would say maybe later this week, and I'm gonna try to do it with Inigo. So likely on his stream. So I'm thinking maybe Friday or Saturday of this week is the next time, but we'll see. And it's probably gonna be with Inigo next.
Nice, very cool. This is actually pretty special. I get to raid Negator77, who hasn't been online in a long time, and is co-streaming with DN Silva, who of course took down the 2 challenges on the weekend. So looking forward to
that's
that.
pretty sick to see. Another part of the Sylvan Syndicate right there.
Exactly. But yeah, Newton, a huge thank you once again. A huge thank you to the chat for coming in and watching. I'll be back tonight with Ali on Lands, which will be pretty cool. So I'll be live in about 6 hours from now.
Well, I hope you and Ollie have a great stream. And thanks for bringing me on. It was definitely a pleasure. And hopefully we can run it back playing Maverick in the future.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Nice. Thanks, Newton, and thank you everyone else. Cheers.